British Vogue Ghanaian-born editor-in-chief Edward Enninful recently unveiled the cover of the September issue with the theme Forces for Change. Guest edited by the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. The September issue for fashion magazines is the most influential edition of the year, and the magazine's focus on people making a global impact on the world is a powerful statement by itself. On today's show, we're featuring a handful of African changemakers in the diaspora. On every scale, indeed, we are in the era of changemakers. We'll chat with our guests on the basis of what does it mean to be a changemaker in the diaspora. You will meet our guests, our brilliant guests, when we come back on Africa's Triumph. Stay tuned.
It takes many hands to build a healthy life. Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is possible with the support of my community. Join the Voices for Recovery. Visible, vocal, valuable.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Africans are everywhere and are making waves. Time to end the negative narrative and tell our own story. Africans are not made up of the single-story negative narrative and image the media has portrayed for decades. There are over 200 million people of African descent throughout the world living outside of Africa, known as the African diaspora. The diaspora has a role to play because rebranding Africa is going to require a collective effort. This is Africa's Triumph series, where we tell the trial-to-triumph story of people of African descent. We profile the trailblazers, movers and shakers, business personalities, and changemakers of the diaspora. An interview series to inspire the African and cosmopolitan millennial to keep pushing for that next level.
Welcome back. Africa's Triumph is a show where we uncover some of the continent's best at the top of their fields. I'm your host, Adedayo Fashino. This is a very special and dear episode because we are about to dive into the stories of two individuals who have decided to be forces of change in the African community and in the world at large. We have in the studio two unique guests. Madelle Kangha is from Cameroon, the founder and president of Jumpstart Academy Africa, a for-impact social venture which seeks to transform Africa by fixing a broken education system. Massa is from Sierra Leone. He created Africa Gives Back International, a non-profit organization that brings clean and safe drinking water to countries in Africa. Let's watch some clips on both of them before we dive into our conversation.
Sub-Saharan Africa has the largest number of water-stressed countries out of any region.
In Africa alone, women spend 40 billion hours a year walking for water.
Less than 50% of people living in rural Africa have access to safe drinking water.
The lack of safe water is one of the world's leading problems, affecting over 1.1 billion people globally.
More than 840,000 people have died each year from water-related disease.
30,000 children die each day because of contaminated water.
85% of all diseases found in African children under the age of 5 are caused by waterborne illnesses.
Over 600,000 children die every year from diarrheal diseases caused by dirty water.
Every 15 seconds, a child dies because of drinking dirty water.
I support.
I support.
I support.
Africa Gives Back International's initiative
to end the global water crisis.
I'm a United Nations Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals, and I am also the founder of Jumpstart Academy Africa. Across Africa, there is a mismatch between the education system and the skills required for the 21st century. It is therefore crucial that we improve the quality of schooling so that it results in skills acquisition for young people. Jumpstart Academy Africa is a social venture which ensures that young people have the necessary skills to meet the demands of the job market.
We provide career orientation services to high school students. We teach them about leadership, we teach them about entrepreneurship, and we continuously bring to them decisions going forward into higher education.
Je suis le directeur du CG de Redega au nom de Moussougan Kodovi.
Hello, Madelle and Troy. So great to have both of you in the studio today. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. How are you doing?
Awesome.
You excited to be here?
Yes.
I'm really excited to have both of you here. And as you know, being a change maker and talking about changing the world and all this stuff is what TANTV is all about. So it's really a pleasure to have both of you here.
Thank you.
You know, and there's something in common with both of you, and that's the reason why two of you are on the same, you know, episode together. One thing is two of you run a nonprofit that is catered towards the SDGs, right? And it's very crucial to really look into what two of you have going on. And I just thought that spotlighting two of you at the same time is epic.
Wow, thank you.
No, like epic, you know?
Thank you.
So, but let me start with you, Madelle, right? Because I know you, girl. Yeah, I see Madelle everywhere at the UN. And where was it that we met at?
We actually met at the Leadership Africa Summit
Leadership Africa.
in Omaha.
So everything leadership, everything sustainable development, like we keep running, but you know what? Madelle has it going on. So, Madelle, you are a United Nations young leader for the Sustainable Development Goals. Tell us about that.
Okay. So last year, a friend of mine, we went to the London School of Economics together. She sent me this, just like, this is so you. I think it was a call for you at the application for the UN Young Leaders, because this is actually the second class. So I looked at it and it was just everything that I did. It just called out to me, you know. I'm so passionate about quality education, which is SDG number 4. And I'm also passionate about SDG 8, which is all about creating employment opportunities for young people. So when I saw the application, you know, working with the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth on issues that matter to young people, I thought it's such a great program, because very often when we talk about SDGs, when we talk about young people, the people making decisions are not young people. We have ministers, we have people in government, we have business leaders who are often not young people deciding what happens to us, deciding things that affect our lives. So when I saw this the application, I was like, this is definitely a chance for me to give my voice to this to an important cause, which is the SDGs, and also to use this role to make impact not only through Jumpstart, but by partnering with other organizations.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's really wow. Exactly. It really is empowering, but you're also doing very inspirational stuff. And I remember when I went to your gala, the Africa Gives Back International, right?
Yes.
The AGB gala.
Yes.
I was blown away, and all I wanted to find out was who is the creator behind this. I'm telling you, that's the whole night. I had like 10 people searching for you until we met. I'm not kidding. Yeah, about 10 different people I sent on errand. Find me the owner or the creator of this. So tell us about your nonprofit.
Yeah, so my name is Troy Massa, president and founder of Africa Gives Back International. We are a nonprofit organization breaking the stereotype of Africans or people of color being seen as always asking and never giving. We hit on the goals. Our goals are development, education, and health. We empower the communities, and currently we have our umbrella mission, which is providing clean water to over 1 million people by 2027. And we're starting in Africa, specifically in Sierra Leone and up and down the West African coast and throughout the continent.
What's interesting is how the two of you, with the nonprofits that you have, has something to do with the SDGs, right?
Yes.
Water, and I think that falls under health, I would say, health, right? Sanitation, health, right? And yours is that's SDG number 3. Hey, I know my SDGs. I'm not trying to show up, but I am trying to show up. And that's SDG number 4, education, right? And it's interesting that you guys, I mean, come on, tell us, what does it take to be a change maker? Because how do you define a change maker? I really want to understand your definition of who a change maker is. You can go first.
Oh, ladies first. I believe a change maker is someone who at their core cares about the people around them. So when you care about the people in your community and you understand that your life and your reason for being here, for existing in the world, is beyond yourself. You're here to touch at least one person. Being a change maker doesn't mean you impact 100, 1,000, 1 million people. Just having an impact on one person, I believe that's a change maker. It's just doing something and being very conscious about your actions, knowing that they affect people and they affect the planet. That's why I believe a change maker
What about you, Troy? How would you define a change maker?
A change maker, similar to what she said, is basically using your passion, using that passion and see how it can impact or make a difference in the community that you're in or on a global scale. Because we've all been blessed with something, some sort of skill. Maybe it's many things, maybe it's one thing, but what are you using that for in order to impact the people around you or the people abroad? That's how I see it. Anybody and everybody is a change maker.
Yeah, but you two decided not to sit down, you know. You're tirelessly working. And I mean this, and I really want to dive into some serious topics now. You know, when you look at the fight for education, that has to do with equality, right?
Yes.
And when you look at fighting for health, that has to also do with equality. Yes. Because there's some disadvantaged people in different parts of the world who do not have access to education or health access. So how are you navigating? How are you really pushing for these causes?
So the way I push for these causes, and obviously it's very difficult when you're here and you're trying to work, do work in another continent. It's very difficult. But you still find a way to push because it's an important issue. And I always ask myself these three questions: if not now, then where? If not who? If not I, then who? And if not here, then where? Because we always kind of push things and procrastinate. So how I've really kind of found a way to push through Jumpstart is through people. And I will give, every time I tell my team, it's the success of Jumpstart is down to the team. I've been able, unfortunately, to attract a group of young people who are as passionate for my cause as myself, so we are all working together for the same cause. And when you have a strong team and when you're all working towards the same goal, you pull your strengths together. I think that has been our key at Jumpstart, is having young people come together, pull their strengths with the same vision, the same values, which I believe is very important. You have to work with people who have the same values as yourself. That has been, how we found.
What about you, Troy? How are you navigating this space and really making the impact? Because I know, just how.
I think it's funny how she said the same thing that we're actually doing, because as millennials, we have to know how to captivate our own community of youth and then be able to expose the rest of the people, the older population, into it. So we do the same thing. We do it on the basis of visuals. As you can see, when you came to the Waters Life Gala, everybody came dressed in their traditional attire.
And thank you for this, by the way, but go on. This is from Troy Massa's shop.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for us.
So we do that. We captivate, basically we capture our audience, the people who typically see these children who with snot running down their nose, the flies and things of that. Instead of showing that, because people already have seen that, we show them the positive nature of Africans, the positive ways. We show them in different garbs like this, or show our traditions in different ways. So that's how we get our communities involved and our, basically the people around us involved, and make sure that our missions and goals go to a different level. Because it's not just the basic, oh, I have a mission, I have a goal. How do we make sure that it's done well and it's, we all have the same issues. We work abroad as well, but what do we do here now in order to get either the funding, the support, the backing in order to do so? So we use the basis of arts, and then we move into we go into medicine. So how does art and science move together? My background's in international public health sciences. What am I doing playing in the realms of arts? But I think us as people of color, just us as youth, we are multifaceted individuals.
That's true.
So,
that's true. I just feel like there's so much to catch up with you guys, and your story individually is what I want to hear next. How are you guys, what's your trial to triumph story? Because I see you guys as triumphant, honestly. The fact that, you represent, like I said, I come as one, I stand as 10,000, that quote, that's also you guys, right? You come as one and you stand as 10,000, right? Wow. And I want to hear your stories when we come back. We will take a short break, but when we come back, we will watch a clip of Madelle from a past TEDx talk. Wow. We'll be right back.
What does it look like when a life is truly changed? I feel a sense of accomplishment because I built a house. This house has brought us financial independence.
It's a great place to raise a family.
Strength, fuerza. When I look back where we've come from to where we are today, it makes my heart very happy.
Potential. Potencia.
For me, this house means all of us together.
Sorry.
Together.
Security.
Security.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world. Through shelter, we empower.
Welcome back. Let's watch a clip from Madelle's TEDx talk.
It made me ask this question. What if entrepreneurship were embedded in the education system? With this question in mind, I left Cameroon in 2008 to study at the African Leadership Academy, or ALA. Now, this was my very first time out of Cameroon, so as you can imagine, I was excited. I was in the land of Mandela, the land of Ubuntu. But more so, I was curious. Curious to see the youth unemployment crisis in Cameroon was the same in other parts of the continent. And it didn't take very long for me to find an answer. In fact, after only 3 months of living in South Africa and studying with young people from many countries across the continent, it became apparent that from Harare to Port Elizabeth, from Dar es Salaam to Monrovia, and from Bamenda to Casablanca, youth unemployment was sweeping across the African continent like a whirlwind.
So we just watched a clip from Madelle's interesting TEDx talk. I mean, I was blown away with, with your talk.
Wow. Congrats.
Yes, very inspirational. You know, so can you just tell us a little bit about how you got to ask yourself that question?
So, growing up, I always, at an early age, I learned the value of education, because that's one thing my parents...
And not to cut you short, the question is, what if entrepreneurship was embedded in the education system? That got my attention. Go ahead.
So growing up, I really got the, my parents really taught me about, the value of an education. I saw my mom, who was a teacher, work really hard, and I saw how she managed the role between wife and mother. I watched my dad as well support her and support the kids and make sure all of us get an education, whether you're a boy or a girl. It was equally as important. And then I also watched how, when my siblings graduated, the job market kind of was a disappointment, because they had studied all these things for, think about it, we studied for 17 years. You have nursery school, primary school, secondary school, and then you go to university, and then you graduate and you're told, well, what you study, we really don't have a job. So what was the 17 years for? So that got me thinking, at that age, you're 19, you're 20, you're 21, 22, you just graduated, you have no skills, and you're being told what you studied spend the last 17 years plus of your life studying has no relevance. And now you're left to fend for yourself. My brother, he was very innovative and he started a business. So that got me thinking, he managed to start a business with support from my parents and,
and that's been an entrepreneur.
But that's been an entrepreneur, basically. But we're not taught that in school. So why are we teaching kids to become entrepreneurs?
Is that part of what Jumpstart is aiming to do?
Exactly.
Teach kids and young people in Cameroon and the various countries in Africa how to become an entrepreneur, like the training behind that.
So that's exactly what we do at Jumpstart. Okay. So what we do at Jumpstart Academy Africa is we've developed a curriculum that is targeted to the realities of the young people on the ground, and we have an emphasis on girls, just because girls are already at a disadvantage when it comes to education. So we train these young people typically from 15 all the way up to 29 through different programs on entrepreneurship. And in teaching them, we're really saying, hey, you can do one of two things. You can start a job, you can start a business and employ yourself, or you can use the skills you're learning and become employable.
That takes me to this question to you, Troy. Basically, I want to know the trial to triumph. When you think of just in a short paragraph or words, how would you describe your trial to triumph journey, given that you also, from what she just said, talking about entrepreneurship, you're also an entrepreneur, you're also an innovator, you're also a thought leader. So how has your background basically led you to this point? Because the definition of what an African is someone who is disadvantaged, as media has said for decades. So yeah.
I think the first of all, I don't believe in disadvantages. I think all of us can agree to that. I see them as more of challenges because you can always achieve them and overcome them. I think one thing is, in our generation, we're always seen as, what do you know at your age, regardless of if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whomever. It's your age they're always looking at. That's one thing that I can see as a trial, but once they see our work, our work ethic, our portfolio, for instance, if you show that to them first, rather than them even seeing you, they're like, oh, okay, this is a great person. They must be so much older than what they think. Then when they see you, they say, oh, how?
But you're from Sierra Leone,
yes,
right? So how did you navigate to get to this point? And you're from Cameroon. So it's like, I can't imagine the similarities and differences in backgrounds, but I really want to know, what was your childhood like, and what was something that was most challenging for you on this journey of becoming a founder and a creator?
I think the biggest thing is that we had to create our own genre, our own category. We didn't just go to school, and I'm speaking about myself, and I'm actually generalizing because I think a lot of us our age, we went to school for one thing, but we also were able to extrapolate that and to work on other things that we had passions on. So a challenge that I may have had is, do I categorize myself in one box? Do I only stick in science or health? Or can I also venture into the arts, into fashion, into creative directing? And why can't you merge them together? And that's where the organization, and that's where a lot of my other creative entrepreneurism comes from.
What about you, Madelle? What is one challenge you experienced in your childhood, or just your journey generally, that you would say propelled you to be who you are today?
I think I agree very much with Troy, in terms of we often find ourselves put in boxes, and you have to kind of, because I'm a lawyer by profession, so I have to be a lawyer, I have to do the 9 to 5, but that's not, I think our generation, we're realizing that you can do more than that. Yeah, you can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can whatever you want, but don't forget that passion you have, whatever it is, education, health, you can always find a creative way to combine them.
Let's talk about the future, right? Future of work, future of youth, future of Africa. What's your take on it? Let's start with work. What do you see as, when you talk about entrepreneurship, when you talk about creating opportunities through health and all that stuff, you're looking at the future.
Yes.
So 2030 agenda, all of those good stuff. So what's the future of work for you?
Okay, for the SDG goals, first of all, it's to provide people with self-sufficiency. So I see in Africa, or people of color within the diaspora, being self-sufficient and being seen as able to provide for themselves, by themselves, and not needing as much aid as needed, as we're receiving now. That is the future. We've always been, since we're specifically speaking about Africa here, we've always been the beginning, and I think the future is us and will always be us. Yeah.
What about you, Madelle?
And to add to that, I think the future I envision for Africa is a continent where young people are empowered. Because I feel young people, African youth have so much talent, so much passion, so much drive, fire, that if they have the right opportunities, they will do amazing things. They will be the next, next scientists, do the next discoveries. We have so many creative minds on the continent. They just need an opportunity. They just need a chance. They're looking for someone to believe in them, someone to say, hey, I believe in you. Give them the funding they need, the advice, the support to achieve those dreams.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So basically empowering young people back home and seeing. So when you also think about, the world we're in, artificial intelligence, I think I watched your interview as well, one of your interviews where you talked about that and all the things where the world is heading to. Are we behind? Do you think we're behind?
We are and we are not. Sorry.
No, take it. Then I'll go
I
on.
like this.
Yeah, because
let's
cool.
get into it.
We are and we are not. So we are in the sense that the world has is advancing so fast. You know, other countries are, you know, investing heavily into their education systems. They're training young people in the skills that matter. But young people back home are still learning curricula that was developed during colonialism. People and that's one of the things that also kind of gave me the passion, because I was sitting in class and we're learning about fishing in Norway, and I'm like, what am I doing fishing in Norway?
Yeah.
You know, so young people on the continent, exactly, young people on the continent are not learning things that are relevant to us in the first place, or things that are current. You know, we're not learning about current affairs. We're not learning about technology. So that's on that level we're behind. But when it comes to where I said we are not behind, because we have the youth force. Like, Africa is the most youthful continent, and it's only going to increase as time goes on. So we have that human capital, and all we need to do is harness it, and we're going to surpass the world. It's going to go ahead.
And that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
And even with you, Troy, you know, just looking at how I just want to know one thing from you.
Yeah.
Right. When you thought about Africa Gives Back, I was kind of curious with the name. Where did that come from? Just
of course.
Briefly as you can.
Yeah, as briefly as
that.
you can. So as I said, the mission of Africa Gives Back is to break the stereotype of Africans or people of color being seen as always asking and never giving. Hence, Africa gives back to the world, because we've already done that. So now it's time to publicize it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we have more. But when we come back, Troy Massa will explain the creative direction behind this very artistic Africa Gives Back Gala campaign. Stay right there. We shall be back in a moment.
Every year, millions of Americans use opioids to manage pain, and reliance on opioids has led to the worst drug crisis in American history. That's why the CDC recommends safer alternatives, like physical therapy, to manage pain. Physical therapists treat pain through movement, hands-on care, and patient education. No warning labels required. Pain is personal, but treating pain takes teamwork. When it comes to your health, you have a choice. Choose more movement and better health. Choose physical therapy.
Welcome back. This campaign video you're about to watch was created by Troy to promote the Africa Big Gala 2018. Let's take a look. Troy, we're closing shortly. I want you to just tell me one thing that you would like the world to know about anything.
We are here, and we are here for change, and we're here to make a difference.
Amen. What about you, Madelle? Something to the world.
We're all change makers, and so if I can do it, you can do it.
If I can do it, you can do it. That's very moving, actually. Well, that's it for our show today. We thank our inspiring guests for being here. Until next time, see you again.